The project shown in this video can be found in the textbook Technical Drawing 101 with AutoCAD, available from SDC Publications.
In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to do your first isometric drawing. So this is in Chapter 7 of your Technical Drawing 101 textbook, and we are going to be getting started on this project. This one's called the T connector. So this, what you see on your screen right now is what you will be seeing on in your book. And I've done the first couple of steps here. So it says to open up the daily work prototype. I've already done that. It says to save it into your home directory with the name T connector. I've already done that. What I haven't done is set my units to decimal, my limits to 2418, and my text style to Arial. So let's come into the drawing here. And if I can get to my drawing, there we go. Alright, so you can see I haven't set my limits up yet because my grid is still teeny tiny, so let's go ahead and do that. First of all, I'm going to do my units. It says to make sure that my units are set to decimal, and they are, so that's good. And I'm going to set my limits, just type in the word limits. The lower left corner is always 0, 0. And it tells me the upper right corner needs to be 24,18. You guys are used to this. The other projects had the same limits. So that grid, you can tell it worked because my grid got bigger. It's the size of my title block and my border now. One thing though is a little bit later I'm going to be turning that grid off. We're not drawing to the grid, we're not snapping to the grid, and once I get into isometric you're going to see my grid's going to do some funky things. So the grid is good, we see that it's the right size, but I'm actually going to be turning it off in just a minute. So now that we've got this, looks good, let's go ahead and save our changes, and we'll come back into the drawing here. So this is what we're going to be drawing. You can see it's a basic T shape. If you flip the page, you'll see that what we're going to start off with is just your basic T, 5 by 3. So we're going to come back into here. What we need to do first is actually get into the isometric mode. So I'm going to show you kind of the old school way to do it, and I'll show you the newer way to do it. So when I'm setting up myself into the isometric mode, look at my crosshair right now. So this is a regular, it's called the rectangular crosshair, rectangular snap, but it just looks like what you're used to. It's a vertical line and a horizontal line. If I were to draw a line right now and turn my ortho on, I'm locked into a perfectly horizontal line or a perfectly vertical line. I can't make it at an angle even if I tried. So we want to make sure that your ortho is on. We definitely want to use ortho when we're doing isometric. But we want to set ourselves into an isometric snap. So I'm going to click on this little button down here where my grid and my snap is, and I'm going to click on the settings, and I'm going to come in here. You can see I'm in rectangular snap. I can set myself to an isometric snap and say OK, and now look at my crosshair. So now I've got an isometric crosshair. So that's one way to do it. I'm going to go turn that off just so you can see, put it back to rectangular and OK. So that's the way we used to teach it. But as of release, I think this changed in 2016, maybe 2015, but they actually added it to the drafting settings down here. So this guy right here, do y'all see this little, you see that little button right there? This is how we can change it now. If you don't see that button, click on these little 3 bars right here to customize, and it is called Isometric Drafting. So this guy right here, if you don't see a check mark next to it, go ahead and click on it. If you see a check mark, then it is in your drafting settings toolbar down here. But what we're going to do now is just click on that little arrow next to it, and you can choose. We've got 3 options when we're looking at that crosshair. So we've got ISO left, ISO top, and ISO right. Let's just select one and see. Notice how my grid is changing. This is what I was telling you. I'm going to turn my grid off because that's driving me crazy. But I'm going to draw a line here, and I've still got my ortho on. It's super important to keep that ortho on, but notice I'm able to draw a line perfectly at 30 degrees and perfectly at 150 degrees. I cannot draw a 90-degree line. I cannot draw anything but that 30 and 150. If you press F5, it changes. So now I can draw a 90-degree line and a 30-degree line. I cannot draw a 150-degree line. Press F5 and you get to the third one where I can go 90 degrees and 150 degrees. I cannot go at 30 degrees. So that's the difference. There's 3 different isometric crosshairs that you can choose from. You've got your ISO top, ISO left, and ISO right. So just by clicking on this, you can choose which one you want. Once you're in that mode though, the easiest way to do it, you can be in the middle of a command, you can just hit F5 and that'll toggle between the three. So when you want to get back to your rectangular snap, all you have to do is just click on this button where it's colorful right now, click on it and it kind of grays out, and now I'm back to my regular rectangular snap. I'm going to go ahead and turn off that grid. We don't really use it for this project. You're not snapping to it. You're welcome to leave yours on. I'm just going to turn mine off. So now that I've got this, I'm going to come in, turn on my isometric snap, and I'm going to draw my first line here. So I need to get this line to come over at 30 degrees, but it's not letting me because I have the wrong ISO snap right now. So I'm going to just hit F5 until I can get to the right angle. And I'm going to make this a distance of 5. I'm going to draw another line starting from here. This one needs to go perfectly straight down, so I'm going to hit F5 again. And this one has a distance of 3. So I'm starting off with that basic T shape. Let's come back in here and you can see I've got my basic T shape. So it's 5 by 3. I snap to the midpoint instead of measuring 2.5 over. 2.5 is half of 5, so the midpoint O snap will work for you there. The next thing that we have to do is we have to draw ISO circles. We need to get these little circles drawn in here, and the first one has a diameter of 1 inch. The second one has a diameter of 2 inches, but when we draw an ISO circle, it's not actually the circle command. It's an ellipse, but we have to start the ellipse command and then tell it it's going to be an ISO circle. So when we come over here, you're going to choose the axis end option of the ellipse command. Right when you first get started, you have to type I for ISO circle before you click anywhere. Right when you start that command, I for ISO circle, we're going to snap it to the endpoint here, and you'll see if I press F5, the different ISO circles that we get. So this is the ISO right circle, and we are going to type in the distance, or the dimension. So if I hit D, enter, because right now it's asking me for the radius, and I was given the diameter. So D, enter, 1, enter. So a diameter of 1. Do the ISO circle again. I for ISO circle before you click anywhere. Now this time diameter of 2. If you forget to type D, enter, when you type in 1 and 2, it's going to do a radius of 1 and 2, and that's going to make your circles twice as big as they need to be. So be really, really careful. Look at your screen and make sure that your ISO circles look the same size as mine. If they're twice as big, you need to back it up and make sure that you chose the diameter command. Those same ISO circles are going to be at the endpoints of the rest of the T's, so you can either do the ISO circle command again, or I'm just going to say copy. They're the same size. So I'm going to copy with this center as my base point. I'm going to copy one set here and one set over there. Press enter and I'm good. So the next step that we're going to do is we're going to get, there we go. Next step that we're going to do is we're going to actually get these lines to come over, and I'm going to do this a little bit differently than you do it, than the book instructs you to do. The book is having you actually draw a horizontal line, or I guess a 30-degree line right here and right here. I'm actually not going to do it that way, so I am going to do it. I think my way is easier. So instead of drawing a line and having to like draw it over here so that I get an intersection to snap to, I'm just going to use the copy command. So I'll use the copy command. I'm going to select that guy. It doesn't matter where you choose as your base point because we're not snapping it according to the base point. We're just going to type in a distance. So if it had a diameter of 2, that gives it a radius of 1. So my distance is 1 here. So I'm just going to copy this over, a distance of 1. Copy it this way, a distance of 1. And that's good. Select this guy. I'm going to go up a distance of 1 and then down a distance of 1, and I'm good. So I've got my circles, I've got my lines, I've got everything I need. I don't need this little T anymore. That was just a construction line to get this thing started. Now I can also come in here and trim. I like to trim things as I go. That way it stays as uncluttered as possible. So I'm going to do my trim command. Just press enter when you start this command and it'll let you trim everything that you need. So I'm going to trim these guys And that's looking good. I'm going to leave these though. So notice these vertical lines right here. I'm going to leave those because I'm going to use them in just a minute. I'm going to go ahead and extend them up to this line here and here. And I'll end up trimming them out later, but I just need to know where to put that top part right here. So that little top part that I need to add to this is it's got an angle of 37 degrees. And so by now, hopefully you know that you can't do angles when you're in isometric because we're already at an angle. So typing in 37 degrees won't really come out right. So what we're going to end up doing is we'll just draw this out over to the side. So the distance from here to here is 2. So I'm just going to draw a line. Actually, oops, I need to get myself into, I'm going to draw it off over to the side, but I'm going to draw it using the rectangular O-snap. So set myself into rectangular. And now I'm going to draw a line. I'm going to go over 2. The dimension it tells me is 2 for this line over here. And then it tells me 37 degrees. So I can do a couple of different things. I can either do a 37 degree line like this. That's 37 degrees, and I can shoot it backwards or extend it backwards to find out what we're really trying to get is the length of this line right here. So I can shoot it backwards and then just trim everything and get that length. So let's do that. So I can trim that out. Oops. And trim that out, and it looks good. I've got what I need. Or I'm going to back this up and give you another option. Oops. Get that back here. I'm going to do the line command, and then I'm just going to add 37 degrees to 180 degrees, and I'll actually draw it at 217 degrees. Excuse me. Now I'll draw a line here, and I'll just make that line at 217 degrees, and that looks good. I just need some sort of line here, and then I can just extend it and trim it. Either way you want to do it is right. You can either go up the 37 degrees and then back it up, or you can do some math and add 37 to 180. Either way, there's no right or wrong way to do this. So now what we're going to do is I'm just going to use the move command. I know that I've got the length of this line correct, and I know that I've got the length of this line correct. So I'm just going to move this guy from here to here, and I'm going to move this guy from here to here, and then I'll just connect the dots from here to here. So that's perfect. Now I don't need this anymore. And I'm going to use my trim command and trim out this little middle part here. Okay, this looks great. So now what I'm going to do is I need to do the fillet. So let's come in here and look at the slide. I've done this part. This is what it's talking about. So we need to do a distance of 2, a distance of 2. We did the 37 degrees. We just needed to figure out how long this line is. So now that we've got that there, it all looks good. The next step that we're going to do is, it says to trim here is step 5. We already did that. Step 6, with the ortho on, we're going to make construction lines at 0.38. So we've got a radius of 0.38 here. Remember, in isometric, we cannot use the fillet command, which is a total bummer. Hopefully by now you love the fillet command. So what we're going to have to do is kind of work around that. So we're going to have to copy over construction lines at 0.38. And then we're going to have to do an ISO circle and then trim from there. So we're going to go back to the drawing here. And I'm just going to use my regular old copy command. And right now, oops, I'm not in isometric. So let's turn on isometric and do that copy command. Over and a distance of 0.38. And I'm just going to keep repeating until I get all the construction lines that I need. So that's going to go over 0.38. Remember to keep your ortho on. This is super, super important. Alright, so I've got all the construction lines that I need. Now I'm going to do my ISO circle. Start that axis end ellipse command, type I for ISO circle. Let's zoom in here. The center of it is going to be right here. You can either type 0.38 to make sure you've got it, or you can snap to the end point of that line if you're sure that your offset was good. 0.38. And now what I'm going to do is just copy that ISO circle. You can redraw the ISO circle if you want, but once you've got it drawn once, let's just copy it to all of those four corners. I don't need my construction lines anymore. So I'm going to delete out those construction lines. And I'm going to trim. And that trim command stays active, so we'll just trim. Alright, that looks good. So we've got the front face of this. Now we just have to copy it back to give it some depth. So let's go check out our slideshow. We've done step 6. Now step 7. Once you've trimmed them all out, we are going to copy this thing back. So the depth that we're going to copy it back is 1 inch, and it actually shows you in this picture which lines you can use to do that copy command. You could copy the whole thing, but you'll end up having to delete out extra lines that you really didn't need. So you can just go by this picture to see what you need to copy back. Come back into my drawing here, and I'm going to start that copy command. I'm going to select the lines that I need to copy. So it's this, all of that, this guy right here, this and this, and then this and this. And I believe that's all I need in order to do that copy command. Select a base point. It can be anywhere on the drawing. And I'm going to hit F5 so that I can head this direction. So I'm doing my ISO left distance of 1, and I've got it. I'm going to draw some lines to just connect it where it needs to be connected. Now one thing I do want to turn on is, go to my O snaps here, and let's turn on the quadrant O snap. That way I can snap from quadrant to quadrant here, quadrant to quadrant here, quadrant to quadrant here. I'm almost done. Now I just need to go trim out what I don't need. So I'm going to use my trim command. I'm just going to press enter so that it trims all the way through. There we go. I've got it. So that's a completed T connector. All you need to do now is just come over here, fill out the information, and print it out and submit it to your teacher.